Hello and welcome to Definitional Debate, the show where we try and fail to define words that have lost all meaning. I'm Dan, the dictionary man, and today I'm joined by the pedantic predator, Jackson, and the verbal vixen, Clara. So what are we talking about today, guys?
Love, I guess.
Love. It's Valentine's week and we're going to talk about love with my lovely contestants here.
Oh, no.
What's the concept?
So we're trying to define love. Now, there are a myriad of different kinds of love. There's familial love. There's love of hot wings. There's love of friendship, friends. I love you listeners out there. But I think we're predominantly going to focus on romantic love.
Romantic or sexual?
Well, that whole vista. Yes.
Yes.
So, Jackson, what is your personal definition of romantic love?
Oh, I have no idea. For me, it's all the same, really.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a difference between, the love of my friends and the love of people that I have, romantic feelings for.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are, things I'll do with someone that I'm romantically involved with that I wouldn't do with a friend, obviously. But...
Well, you know.
Well, you never know.
Knows?
I don't know you guys on my side. But I think love is just sort of that mutual sort of, you don't need them to do anything for you, but you also, I don't know. I don't know.
Should I go?
I don't know.
No, let me go next.
Okay, Clara.
Before I forget
Yeah.
what I just thought of. All right, I agree with Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I think love is that sort of, that goes for everyone.
Okay.
And then romantic and sexual love gets sort of added on. It's
So that's a layer.
choosing different. Yeah, it's a
Added layer of love.
And it's not necessarily even an added layer because
Yeah.
I think that you can love someone as deeply.
Like an extra membrane.
But maybe not a membrane. That's gross. But,
like a layer in a cake.
Yeah, like a layer in a cake.
yeah, but I think that love is wanting to see the best in another person and always looking for the best in that other person.
Okay, I like that better.
Interesting.
That's good.
All right, the definition I wrote down, also, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, what we each of us thought. So my definition is a feeling of intense closeness and connection to another person that bonds you with them in a way that you can't quite reason or understand.
Mm-hmm.
But I do that with almost everyone.
You have an intense feeling of closeness with everyone?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like anyone I meet, then I'm like, I need to be part of your life. I need to have this faith in them and
so you're reaching out to them, right?
Yeah,
and but it doesn't. Do you think that
mutual.
love? Yeah. Do you think that love needs to be mutual?
Absolutely. No. Well, see, this thing. There's no way I'm not going to massively contradict myself every sentence we talk about in this thing, because this is a thing that I don't think any of us are scholars in. You took a class, but.
Took a class on love?
Yeah. I did, on evolving conceptions of love in 19th century Western Europe.
Wow.
But, beyond that, beyond experts or whatever, it's also just not something that I think anyone really has a definitive answer for, and I don't know that there is a definitive answer.
I sort of hope there isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
So, because you say that doesn't have to be mutual, at first I'm like, no, because I do believe that you can love someone who doesn't love you. I believe in unrequited love as an actual thing. But is that actual love, or is that just longing?
Maybe there's a layer. Maybe there's where the layer comes in, rather than just different type or something you add on.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason I'm maybe unrequited love isn't actually love is because as I've evolved in my relationship with Olga, I'm okay, what I thought was love, what I felt was love, whatever, at the beginning, isn't the same as what it is now. And so I feel until you've actually bonded together and actually spent time together and actually gone through hard things together, you're not actually in love. So so I'm how can unrequited love exist if you don't actually have a connection together?
So I remember we were in senior year of high school and we took psychology together.
Yeah.
And in our textbook, there was a picture of an old couple cooking together.
Oh.
And they were as love grows, like things change.
Yeah.
You may not have the lust you had before, but like I remember that. And so I guess there's a difference between lust and like early relationships, but I think like lust plays a bigger role in it then.
Yeah.
And then later on it's more about the connections you've made over time.
Yeah.
But I think they're all encompassing the like larger idea of love.
Yeah. Well, so I had this later in the outline, but because it seems to make sense now, what do you guys think about love at first sight?
All the time.
So you believe in that?
Yes.
What do you think?
Only in so much as it applies to anyone I see. I don't think I've ever had a moment where I saw someone and thought, like, I'm more in love with you than I would be with any other random person I saw.
Okay. See, now, I strongly do not believe in love at first sight. I think it's a disgusting idea.
My whole life.
I think it's a perverse idea.
I am perverse.
I know. I think that is just lust and it's infatuation. That isn't love to me.
Infatuation doesn't count as love?
No, infatuation is different. Infatuation is like that's the thing is I totally am going to contradict myself because what I was about to say is an infatuation is like what you feel like when you're a teenager or whatever and you've never actually connected with someone before. But there are teenagers that stay together forever, but in some ways I'd argue their infatuation grew leveled up.
Yeah. I think infatuation is the early sparks of love.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a teenager thing at all. I think teenagers are actually more lustful than they are infatuated.
I think infatuate comes kind of hand in hand with lust.
Well, there are some things to suggest, like some like neurobiological developments that are happening in the teenage years that would make it actually sort of like love. Like there's something going on. I think it's in the amygdala where like the extent to which you feel wonderful even when someone who you've decided you love looks at you is like way bigger when you're 16 versus when you're 26.
Yeah.
Now it's neurobiology, so like take it with 10,000 grains of salt because we'll probably find out tomorrow that like that was all a bunch of bullshit. But,
Yeah. I mean, so
for me when I have like love at first sight feelings, it's never about like, ooh, they're really hot.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, they're such a great person. I want to spend time with them.
Yeah.
Constantly. And then I can imagine like my life hanging out with them or, doing something together as a couple. And I see that right away. And I see that
But do you see that truthfully? Like for me, love has to do so much with like a true understanding of someone. And I can't see I don't have a true understanding of someone even after a full initial encounter.
Yeah.
I fall in love with everyone.
No, but what I'm asking is like, so you fall in love with the idea of someone. Do you actually fall in love with the person? Or just the idea of them?
It depends.
Because you can't really know them. I mean, I don't think that's the thing.
But I think at first sight.
Yeah.
At first sight, is it like...
It doesn't have to be lasting love at first sight. It's just I am in love with them at first sight.
Interesting.
I have this feeling and this understanding of
I think
what a relationship is with them.
What's interesting with you is I feel like with you, a lot of it's tied into empathy, right? It's you're immediately able to connect and empathize with people.
It's a love of humanity.
Yeah, and so it's not like, because I feel like you were saying, it's impossible for it to be actual love if you don't actually know the person. You're not in love. You're not. It is just an idea because you don't.
Or how about this? It can be real love, but it's untested love.
Yeah.
And so I feel like untested, it's like the potential for love is there. But
I suppose.
But I still feel those neurobiological feelings.
Oh, sure.
I feel those. So how
I guess the thing is, and I that was another thing that was on my list, is how much do we feel like this is just chemical versus this is something beyond chemical?
I think once you reach the point where you and Olga are, it's not chemical as much as it is.
But still
history.
is.
There's definitely chemical.
But it's about having history together and having that bond.
Well, I think it's even. I mean, for me, it's even beyond that. Like I honestly, I'm agnostic. I don't believe in that many things. I don't have any, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in,
I'm agnostic. I don't believe in ghosts.
No, I was trying to think of other things people would be like. I don't believe in, luck. I don't really, I think aliens could exist, but I don't believe they've been here. And, any of these things, I do believe that love is beyond simple understanding of chemicals.
Yes.
That is, one of the few things that I do believe in, that I'm like, this...
I'm a Catholic,
is something
so
beyond that.
For me, like, if I'm gonna give you my real definition of love, it's that God is love.
Yeah.
That's all I have to tell anyone.
Same for me.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's exactly why, like, it's not that love at first sight. I wouldn't say that love at first sight doesn't exist. I would say, like, it should exist equally for every person who you encounter, and that then, like, that love is, like, tested again and again. And, like, true love would be like, I'm willing to do what it takes to pass all those tests of my love.
So I guess what it seems like what you guys are saying is that you don't necessarily feel like there's a hierarchy for you.
A hierarchy?
Like a hierarchy of love.
Levels of love.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, how can that be true though? Like, you don't love your mom more than someone you just met?
Yeah, I do. No. But it's not that that's more important than another.
Yeah.
Like for me, my love of my family comes with a lot of other emotions too.
Yeah.
I may not have those emotions, but people I've met once.
Yeah.
So, like, there's that bond that I was saying with you and Olga, like a bond and a history.
Yeah.
There's, like, necessity and wanting of that relationship.
Yeah.
And things like that like go along with a family sort of relationship.
I think there's also just, like, I'll just keep using religious terms, but I can have faith in my mom's love for me, and I can have faith in my love for my mom.
Yeah.
When I'm, like, first dating a guy, that faith isn't there. Like, it's a really, like, a sort of like, well, fingers crossed. See how it goes.
Yeah.
But, like, my mom can do something that deeply hurts me, but, like, there's that
you're permanently
deep
bonded.
love, right?
Yeah.
You know, and, like, you can get to that with other people as well. But it takes time and effort.
I mean, when I was a paramedic, I would step in front of a bullet or a car, you know, I would die for my partner, even if I had met them that morning. Like, that's my, like, devotion to them. And it's a sort of love. It's a sort of, like...
Now, is it your devotion to them, or is it your devotion to doing the right thing, or protecting humanity and protecting people? Like...
Well, I would only protect humanity because I love it. Because I love humans.
Yeah.
And I want, like... I want to be that person who does that. You know? I'm glad that that's my instinct.
Yeah.
It's not something I would think about at the time. And I've done it before where I'll do something without thinking about it. That might put me in danger, but I'm protecting someone else.
Yeah.
Like, that's important to me, and I'm glad that I have that instinct.
Okay.
Because I know not everyone would.
Yeah. I do want to know, because you guys are talking about a lot of things that I wouldn't consider, like, romantic love. So, do you feel like you've been in romantic love? And do you think you can understand romantic love having not been in romantic love?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and, I mean, I've thought that I have been, right? I'm not sure that you can fall out of love. So I think, like, to the extent that I have had romantic love towards previous boyfriends, I would say that love is actually still there.
Yeah.
I didn't, like, get it back.
Yeah.
But, like, I haven't had a, like, successful romantic relationship. So,
You're still young.
Yeah. Not getting any younger.
We can get into this part. What's the difference between romance and sexual attraction to somebody, or, like, can I have romance for a friend?
When I was doing some research, a lot of people were saying that, like, romantic love without sex is, like, emotional attraction. But it sounds like you have emotional attraction to, like,
everyone
all the time.
Yeah. It's really common. Yeah.
Well, what do you think? What do you think the difference between, like, sexual?
Well, I think one of the big differences between me and Jackson is like, I definitely don't have sexual attraction to most of the people who I have emotional attraction to.
Yeah.
And Jackson, I think, has a, like, maybe higher level.
Yeah. Lower threshold.
Lower threshold.
Yeah. Lower threshold. Yeah.
So,
you mean,
like, easy.
No, I
we see what's up.
But I personally find it very difficult for me to draw a line between romantic interest and just, like, human interest. I don't really get it. So for me, I don't know how to distinguish between... I mean, romantic seems like a combination of... like, loving someone and having sexual attraction.
Well, so that's the thing.
And I know that's outdated.
Well, that's the thing that's...
I don't know.
That's what I want to say, too. But the whole thing with this is why I try to do research about asexuals and stuff, because especially once I start hearing about like asexuals that still have romantic orientations and things like that.
Right.
And I can't wrap my head around it, because on the one hand, I'm like, I don't understand what it means to be romantically linked if neither of you has a sex drive. What's the difference between that and you two who live together and spend all of your time together, and, you know, not all your time, but you guys have been friends for years.
I buy her flowers when she's upset.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I make sure that she got home okay.
Yeah.
If I'm not there.
Yeah, what's the difference between that and a best friend, basically? So that's like beyond the fact that like I know people feel this way. I, even with the reading I've done, I can't understand it. But at the same time, I don't want to. It feels like kind of icky to be like, oh, what separates a best friendship and a romance is fucking. You know, like,
right.
I don't want that to be the only difference, right?
Right.
But I think that's
a big difference.
I think that is a big difference. I also think there's, I feel like a lot of our ideas about romantic relationships come from sort of like outdated heteronormative ideas.
Yeah.
So that like, well, what makes it different is that it's like, it's two women, so obviously it can't be sexual, so obviously it's best friendship, right?
Yeah.
Like, I worry that that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
The fear of equating romance and friendship. But
I guess it's because of what I was saying before, right? I believe there's something beyond, like, that it is something almost spiritual or whatever, that I'm like, I just don't, I don't know. It's because there's like this vague X factor. It's hard to understand what separates these kinds of relationships, right? Because you guys can say, oh, you know, we care about each other. We know that we're going to be friends forever, like literally, especially at this point in your life, it's not like you're two 16-year-olds saying that, right? Mm-hmm. And so like,
but we were once.
Yeah, and
people doubted us.
So I don't know. I guess I can't wrap my head around that. And the thing is, I just don't think having the sex drive that I have, I don't know that I ever will be able to do that. I don't think I can like wrap my head around that, because it is so intrinsically tied for me. But I mean, I am interested too in like hearing. I'd like to read, or if there are anyone in the comments or whatever, read from people who have been in a marriage for a long time and the sex has dried up or whatever, but you're still in love. And so, I mean, that's a similar thing too, where I'm sure that happens all the time.
I definitely don't want to say that I don't think that you can have a romance without sex.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely not what I mean to say.
Yeah.
You can create all kinds of systems where, like, this is the sort of thing that I would only do with a romantic partner, right? And it doesn't have to just be sex. It could be like, I would never like
hold hands with
hold hands with someone who I'm not in a romance with.
Never buy a gift for a person on a random day.
Jackson and I we like push all sorts of like whatever. But
we
like,
push boundaries.
We do push boundaries. Like,
but it's because we don't equate those things with romance.
Yeah.
But like you could, and then that's a totally valid way of doing it.
So what you're basically saying is that definitions are stupid because romance is in the eye of the beholder.
Like, Clara wouldn't go on a sunset horse ride with me in Aruba.
I know, I probably would.
Okay, we probably would.
Why not?
It's coming up in a few months.
Yeah.
All right, sunset horse ride with Clara. We're going. Us and some couples.
Yeah.
Everyone always thinks we're dating. Because of the way we act around each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we have a different idea. I mean, for me, the thing that defines a romantic relationship for me is like, do I have sexual attraction to them? Mm-hmm. Now, maybe that's sad and I'm missing all sorts of like things, but that's cool. Like, you can feel that way.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I think it's the definition of what constitutes a relationship that only makes sense if it's coming from you.
Yeah.
So my question here is, now there's people who are in monogamous relationships, and there are people who are in polyamorous relationships.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you be polyromantic?
Oh.
Or, you know, like, so if you have, like, can you have multiple romantic relationships?
Why not?
Yeah, I would say yes.
I mean, yes, but...
I mean...
But if that's, if you're...
Yeah, but Dan, what do you think? Because you seem less...
I mean, I think that I try not to judge people. But, like, it's hard for me to believe in that, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to believe that it's actual love if it's for multiple people. And I think, but at the same time, I'm like, well, but is that like, am I being silly?
So like what if, so if I have a boyfriend,
Yeah.
right? I still love Jackson too.
That's not romantic, though.
But not in a romantic way. No,
Yeah.
but I mean,
She wouldn't
Yeah,
go
but
on that sunset ride with me anymore?
yeah,
No,
like,
that's different because she doesn't
better.
think of that as a necessarily romantic thing because,
Right.
like,
but if I just like constrict it or expand, I don't know, like
Yeah.
whatever. If I change my
Yeah.
definitions around, like,
yeah,
why wouldn't that be
because I don't.
possible?
Because to me, like, so I mean, no matter what, whether with Olga or whatever, I still love my family. Like that to me again, that's a different kind of love.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, I'm not saying I only love. I'm not saying I only love Olga and I don't love anyone else. I mean, like, I love you guys, but that's not the same thing.
I definitely have more than so. Like to make it easy, I'm like, oh, like Clara's like my sister,
Mhm.
but it's different because it's not. I don't have that family relationship
Yeah.
with her.
Well,
It's still different from
Yeah,
that.
well, family. There's a thing of like a feeling of obligation. You guys chose each other,
Yeah.
so that, like that's a little bit
makes it
different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
mean,
think that makes it a big difference.
Yeah.
yeah, I think so too. And I wonder, Dan, maybe for you, it's part of it is a really important thing in your relationship is knowing that it's one person.
Yeah.
And like saying that you're
Yeah.
sort of like you're creating that like you're like
Yeah.
you're building that
choosing
practice.
Yeah.
You're choosing love. No, but I think that so for you that must be
Yeah.
like
I mean, so it's again, I'm thinking about the contradictions here, right? Because part of me is like, well, am I saying this because I do sort of like believe in like the religious idea of like soulmates or whatever? I don't know if that has to be religious, but sort of mystical, whatever you want to call it.
well, if you want to believe in a
Yeah.
soul, I mean,
Yeah. But then that kind of contradicts the thing about love at first sight, right? Because like, how can I believe in like soulmates but not believe in love at first sight? Because I
Why?
feel like, well, because if you're like
not
meant to be together, then is it that crazy that when you first saw each other,
How do you know who the other person is? Through looks alone, or through their actions, or through? I mean, how do you
It's
how do
through
you
their
see their
movements
soul?
and their eyes.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, if I'm allowing the level of mysticism of saying that soulmates exist, then how is it? It's not a far stretch to say, oh, then also love at first sight could exist because you could just magically know.
So
that your
let's
soulmate's
go back
there.
to love at first sight.
Yeah.
When I say that I fall in love at first sight,
Yeah.
I don't mean that I look at someone or like look at a photo of someone or like way across the room.
Barnabas.
I need to like interact with them on some level
Yeah,
first. And from that interaction,
Yeah.
I'll fall in love.
Love at first meeting.
Yeah, love at first
Yeah.
meeting. Or even once you understand who they are with like capital letters. Like
Mhm.
what are they really?
Yeah.
You know? And you can see that in their eyes and the way they talk and their actions and the way they move and carry themselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's where I find it. I don't find it in their looks,
Yeah.
how they look or how
Mhm.
attractive they are.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, you're doing the emotional attraction, which is
Yeah.
you're adding a level of romance there.
Mhm.
Now I do think the more I think about it, I'm like, okay, so like to say maybe I do believe that you can be romantically in love with multiple people because I think that's if I say no, that kind of discounts people who like are in love with their first husband and then they die and then they meet someone new. You know, like
yeah.
I feel,
That's
and
true.
you know, there's all sorts of things like that. Or even you have, like I had my relationship with Olga that lasts the next 7 years or whatever, and then we break up, and then I fall in love with someone else. I don't think I'd ever lose my feelings for Olga, even if it didn't work out.
Mhm.
So, I mean, ultimately, we're all pretty young here, and so to a certain degree, we can say what we say, but what we believe in this video is not what we necessarily believe. If we did a
20
video
years from
10,
now,
10
yeah.
20 years ago, it's different from now. So, it kind of is the experience that we have, and
And that's why like God is love is like important to me because
Yeah.
it's also about like you need the span of your life, your whole human time on earth
Mhm.
to like understand love.
And how about like also it's the span of every single person's life on earth who's ever lived and ever
Exactly.
will live, right?
Yeah.
And like I want different people to think of love differently because then that gives that like exalts
Yeah.
that idea.
It's an
right?
even bigger
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
It grows.
So, as a sort of segue into the end, do you want to say anything else about like the history that you know, or how things might have evolved with the meaning of love? And
Gosh. I mean, so this is going to be like heterosexual, and it's going to be like premised on the ideas of like
well, I mean that is the
marriage.
history of what the idea has been, right? So
No, I wouldn't
Not
say
always.
that. I mean, like the ancient Greeks had
Mhm.
the idea of love really only existing between an older man and like a sort of teen.
A student,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like the ideal of love because women were considered to be like as dumb as cows. So like you couldn't have an actual relationship with them because
Some
they were too
smart
stupid.
guys over there.
Right. But it's interesting that that's kind of how we ended up thinking about love just now, right? It's like you need to be able to have some sort of like meaningful connection to the other person right now.
Right.
I would define that as in like, which is why I can only have relationship with teenage boys.
Right?
But no. But it really wasn't until the 19th century that marriage really started being about love, except in the Middle Ages there was this concept of chivalry, and chivalry was what love was. And so you had this like whole like code of behavior, and love really was important. This isn't my like area of expertise, so I won't talk about it too much, but that's really interesting. So if anyone knows about it, I'd love to know more. But in the 19th century, there's this huge evolution between marriage being just, a partnership. And it's really about, this is a lifelong partnership. So like we need to have children together, we need to raise them together, we need to be able to like survive this terrible time of history where there's no food. And by the end of the 19th century, people are essentially only marrying if they're in love. And you start seeing like divorce.
Yeah.
And divorce obviously goes way up the more marriage becomes about love.
Yeah.
The more likely people are to be divorced.
Yeah.
Which is another interesting, so like I wonder if that's because people's attitudes about love really do
I think
change.
love is volatile.
Yeah.
I think love is always on shaky ground.
So that's interesting because that's your takeaway from that. My takeaway from that is a lot of people think they're in love and aren't.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think like real love is obviously not. It's
Yeah.
like, solid, but there's such a like I think love is very like sticky or grabby.
Yeah.
And it reels you in even if it's not fully there.
Well, and I think there's a thing of, I think as marriage has become about romance and love and all that stuff, and we see all this media thrown at us that's like, this is what your goal in life should be, right? Is find that one person or whatever. Then a lot of people are just so desperate to get there. To jump on whatever possibility of a thing that might make them happy forever from their whole life, that they're willing to overlook some things or they don't think things through, and especially, and then there is like, I do think the early love, infatuation, and love in general loses a lot of logic in term for emotion, and so you're making brash decisions, like.
So here's one other maybe interesting thing is that thing of like, originally everyone was connected. It was like a man and a woman each to a blob, and then they got split apart, and you're trying to find your other half so that you can finally be whole, and you can finally be a whole blob again. And so that's the sort of the one of the first sort of like prominent ideas about romantic love and marriage. But then as the years progress, there's this increasing understanding that you can't love someone unless you love yourself first and you understand who you are first. And I think that's sort of where we're at now. Which I think is a much more mature understanding.
See, now I don't agree with that, to be honest, because I think that also kind of that supposes the idea that at any age you're just suddenly gonna be like, now I understand myself. Like, you keep growing, you keep changing, you can have a better understanding of yourself. And it's a wise, positive piece of advice to say, try to deal with yourself before jumping into trying to deal with other people's issues. Or don't throw all your issues onto somebody else. But I don't know that I necessarily think that that's the only way to do it. I think you can grow with people and help each other.
I think you've got it, but I think you have to have a baseline understanding of where you're at. Yeah. And you need to be able to find someone who's going to be where you're at.
You have to be self-aware.
Yeah.
If you're not self-aware, then I think that's the only thing you have to know about yourself. And know, like, what issues you're going to be bringing to the table. Yeah. Just in general.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in relationships and they've ended not because I didn't really love the person but just because where I was at was not somewhere
a good fit with where they were.
Just we were on like different parts of the journey, you know, and like that's not, it's not going to work out because I can't work on my problem then, and then that's just gonna
destroy both of you.
It's just not gonna work.
You did bring up an idea that I feel like we should have maybe talked about a little bit more, which is the idea of the blob thing, and a bigger idea of that being though that this is the person who completes you, that you feel complete. Like to me, that's part of what the romance thing is, right? Because like I don't have a best friend in the way you guys have best friends. I have friends that I care about, but I couldn't say that any of my friendships that person completes me. That I feel like I'm not fully myself without them there. And so to me, that is a piece of what romantic love is. I don't know if you guys disagree.
I feel that with Clara.
Yeah.
She completes me.
I disagree. I feel like individuals are complete people and that love is a necessary factor for anyone.
Oh, sure.
But
by feeling complete, I think it just means you feel like settled, good, comfortable. Like you feel comfortable on your own, sure, but I think there's a different sort of comfort, and a different sort of completeness.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I guess I find it as sort of, it's not that I don't think that having close relationships is a really good thing. I do.
Yeah.
But I think the blob idea is dangerous because it makes people, especially like teenagers, think that they won't be complete unless they have someone else, and that therefore they don't need to work on anything themselves.
Fair, totally fair. I think, I'm trying to think of a better like allegory or metaphor or whatever, where I'm like, you are fully functional, right? But then you get this like super cool upgrade when the other person's there, and it's like, you know, like,
that's what it is.
You
have. This is not.
No,
this is violent.
No, go ahead.
You have a nice assault rifle, or no?
You have a nice assault rifle, but you get a scope.
You have a long range gun. Yeah. Anyway, what's something better than that?
Nothing. There's nothing.
There's nothing better.
You have a nice plane, but then you get a nuke to add on to the plane.
No. How about you got like a donut, right? Your life is like a donut.
Yeah, but now you get coffee with it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a metaphor that we use at my work.
Okay.
Which is there's a difference between funfetti that's baked into the cake and the sprinkles that's sprinkled on top of the cake.
You're my baked in funfetti?
No, you're the sprinkles.
Oh.
No.
I'm my own funfetti?
Yes, you are your own funfetti. You like fulfill, like you are that thing.
I fulfill the colors of my soul.
Sprinkles are awesome, but sprinkles.
Yeah. To me, that in some ways that also like that's not good enough. I mean, that's the thing, because I get what you're saying about the blob thing, right? But like,
I know. No, the sprinkles doesn't work.
The sprinkles doesn't work because it's like you really don't need the sprinkles.
You really don't need the sprinkles. But I do like donuts and coffee, or like cookies and milk.
Yeah.
It's like
coffee and bagels.
Coffee and
bagels. Dating app.
Coffee and bagels.
But like I think that's good because it's a compliment to you. Like you're the donut and they're the milk, and both of those things are great on their own. Yeah. But together.
Yeah.
Where did I put donut and milk together? I mean donut and coffee. I don't like drinks.
Also, you don't like any of those
things. This is why I'm confused. It's like a steak and whatever you put with steak.
So what do you love? Steak?
Are you a steak or a donut?
Yeah.
Right in the comments below.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this lovely discussion. Please let us know what you think about love in the comments below. And let us know other words that you think we should do in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.